Paris. Yes, and thank you if you're tuning in. This is my first try at a real YouTube live. I think this is going to be fun. I am lucky enough. I am in Paris tonight. Been here for a few days. It's been fantastic. I came for a wine tasting, which was really an incredible experience that American Express hosted. And it was run by one of the top sommeliers in the world, Arvid Rosengren. It was incredible. He was joined by Will Lyons formerly from the Wall Street Journal and now the London Times. He's a wine critic. He has a very successful podcast. It was sort of an all-star panel with two members of the families that have been in the wine generation forever, and it was an incredible experience. We tasted so many incredible wines. It was just absolutely incredible. And I would just like to share a few things with you tonight. And a couple of the things I can tell you about some of the wines that we had. If you're into wine, you might really enjoy this. Okay, so we had an Egon Mueller which is one of the toughest wines to find. You just can't find this wine. And if you do, it's thousands of euros. We got to taste this. We had Paul Roger Champagne, Sir Winston Churchill. Absolutely incredible. We had Montrachet. It was absolutely, I think it was my favorite of the whole thing. It was Marquis de Langouche. I know my pronunciation. I'm sorry, apologies. We had a great Spanish, very famous Spanish wine, Vega Sicilia. We had Sassicaia. We had these Chateau Haut-Brion. We had, you name it, a Chateau Mouton Rothschild, and we finished with an incredible 1974 grams port. It was like one of those things that you just can't believe it's happening. It was so fantastic, just so fantastic. And there was lots of really interesting people that attended. I really did enjoy that very much. They're mostly Europeans. We are in Paris, but we had lunch with two lovely couples, and the men were both originally from the United States. So that was fun. They were kind enough to do everything in English during the lunch for us, and it was so interesting to hear about their lives, which were really neat. They were born in the U.S., but they worked abroad for years and married non-Americans and have lived for years, decades in France. And it was so interesting to hear how they've raised their children, and they're also, multicultural and multilingual. And I thought, what a neat way to grow up. That's really what a gift. What a gift for somebody. So that was sort of the main thing, to come experience this wine tasting, meet all these lovely people, and did a lot of walking around. I think 10,000 steps I got in today, and it is 97 degrees here, about 35 Celsius. It's hot. Not a cloud in the sky. It's the sun and me walking down the Champs-Elysees. It's very busy here right now. The Bastille Day, the big celebration, was just always 14th of July, and this is a few days later, so things are still up from the Bastille Day parade that goes down the Champs-Elysees. The flags are up. There are bleachers everywhere. A lot of construction, so it's a little bit more challenging to walk today than it's been. But it's so beautiful down the Champs-Elysees, and coming up this weekend is the culmination of the grand finale of the Tour de France. So that's going to be a really big deal. So there was a lot going on this very hot day down the Champs-Elysees, but it was great. I'm trying to do a little travel vlog for you guys, and was able to make a few stops and give you just a little tiny bit of some history, not bore you to tears, but just little tidbits that I think are really kind of interesting, such as the Arc de Triomphe. You know, that was commissioned by Napoleon. He was crazy about the classics. He loved everything ancient Greece and Rome, and you see a lot of that in the structures that he commissioned. For the Arc de Triomphe, of course, he was a military man, and military is foremost there. And he commissioned this, but he had a fall from grace and was sent outside the country in 1814, and he died on the island of St. Helena. And he did not live to see the ark completed, which is really tragic when you think about it. But what's neat is when all was forgiven and I'm afraid he died, then but his remains were brought back. The ark was finished in 1836, and in 1840 Napoleon's remains were brought back, and he was escorted his remains through under the tunnel, under the arch, and he went through the arch, which is very cool because, and then he was buried in the chapel at Les Invalides, a military hospital. But what's really kind of cool is there are soldiers buried underneath the arch. I'm not sure if you know that or not. Unknown soldiers from World War I and someone from World War II. And it is considered sacred ground now, and no one passes through under the tunnel. Even Hitler, when he was here, would not march his troops under the tunnel and through that out of respect, which is incredible. Of course, Charles de Gaulle would not walk his troops underneath the arch, through the arch, out of respect for these fallen soldiers. So that's a little bit of tidbit. You know, Napoleon did a lot, had a lot of different things built in this beautiful city. And one thing, he built one of the first bridges, the iron bridges across the River Seine that divides the city, the left bank and the right bank. Currently, I'm staying in a beautiful hotel, Hotel Lutetia, and I am on the left bank. The neighborhood is Saint Germain. This is Saint Germain des Prés. I love this neighborhood. It might be my new go-to. It is really, it's less touristy, it's less crowded, it is just beautiful, and you can find all the fine shops. Everything is here. It's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood. And now Napoleon, then we have all these other beautiful bridges that have been built, Pont Neuf, all the famous bridges, and they're also beautiful. So you walk around. So, you know, Napoleon did quite a bit in the city, and I walked everywhere today. So we'll have a little glimpse of course, the Louvre and the Grand Palais, and just all the sites. We're outside the Musée d'Orsay, and you know, all the great sites of the city. But you know what you really want to learn also is the culture, these beautiful people that are so lucky to be living in this country. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people. One of the world's most loveliest languages. I mean, seriously, this language is so beautiful here in France. And people are very hospitable. I have found that you know, my French is okay. It used to be a lot better. I'm going to work on it. But they appreciate that I'm trying. I am trying. I'm not getting everything right, but I'm trying, and they do appreciate that, which is nice. It's a sign of respect. I'm a guest in this country, and I need to try to speak the language. So that's neat. And while I've been here, I had a marvelous time last night. I had a beautiful drink in this beautiful bar in this beautiful hotel, Hotel Lutetia. Lutetia. And you think, well, that's an odd name, Heidi. Well, the name is really very meaningful. Lutetia, that was the first name of the city of Paris. Yes, it's a Roman name. The Romans named this city Lutetia. So that's kind of cool. And gosh, it was just like in 32 AD or so that the name changed to Parisi, which was the name of the people that lived here. And then, of course, it became Paris. And so, you know what's sort of cool about this is knowing where all these things come from, not just staying in this beautiful hotel and saying Hotel Lutetia. That's sort of a strange name, but you dig a little bit, do a little bit of research, and you find out some kind of cool stuff. So last night, the head of food and beverage here, this lovely gentleman named Gregory, sat down with me in the bar, and we talked about all things etiquette, the French way. He's worked in the UK, so we added that, and of course, being as an American, the American way. And it was really so interesting to hear the different things. American table settings, we set the tines to our forks, and there's a fork right here, down, of course, right? And here, or we set them up, of course. I mean, our tines in America are up. Now in France, you're taught in etiquette school, well, the tines are down. Well, the tines, not always. And I learned last night that's sort of fading. That's fading away a little bit. And might happen in a very posh home, and if the back of your fork is monogrammed, then the tines would be down, showing off your monogram. And Gregory told me last night that the tines were down back in the day because it was a sign of peace, that this is going to be a peaceful meal, that it was thought that tines up could be maybe a little more aggressive, much like if you follow this channel, you'll know that the knife blade is always in towards you on your plate, because it's peaceful. If the blade is out on your plate, that's a sign of aggression. I want to have a little rumble. So that was kind of neat, because I had heard that the tines in France, on very, very, very formal situations, were down because of the big lace cuffs that was very common in the 15th, 16th, fading out in the 18th century, and that you didn't want to get your fork caught in your cup. But turns out it's more of an aggression. So that was really neat. And something that I'm asked all the time is, Heidi, what about tipping when you're in France? Well, service is included, and we talked about this last night, and it was really quite a fantastic conversation. And yes, service, it's a different way of thinking here, and service is sort of more built in. And at the end, if you'd like to leave a little something else, then yes, you can. Something small. The service, just a completely different way of thinking, of paying people. And I think it's a very nice way. And I don't know, some of my close friends know that, if someone's done something nice for you, you give them a little tip, a little extra money when I'm home in America. And I always say, have a coffee on me. And what we learned from Gregory last night is that that's very similar here, that the little tip that you may leave after extraordinary service while you're here in France, it is not mandatory, but it's a very nice thing to do, especially if you're in a big hotel. It's probably a little more, it would be really nice. It really does help the people. And it was called pourboire, P-O-U-R, boire, for a drink. So yes, you would leave a little something extra for your server so they could have a drink later. And I thought, hey, that's kind of neat. It's sort of like my coffee, like, hey, here, have a coffee. Well, here, pourboire, have a drink later. So I thought that was really neat. Another neat thing that we did today, I went to an afternoon tea. And if you follow me on this channel, I'm crazy about afternoon teas. I'm sort of an afternoon tea snob, if you will. And we went to the French afternoon tea, which was lovely, had a beautiful glass of champagne, and it was very similar to British, but sort of the French variation. Where in the proper British afternoon tea, you have the little finger sandwiches first. Well, here we just were brought out some savory items, and they were over the top, fantastic. I have pictures. We'll do a video later in this travel blog that we're going to do. We'll insert some pictures. Incredibly gorgeous, savory delights. And then we went on, and they brought a beautiful sorbet, palate cleanser, and then we went on to some really beautiful scones, if you will, if you're in the UK. And From there, we had these incredible little cakes and pastries, a baba al rum, which I love, and it was so tiny and beautiful. I have a great picture of it. I've tried making that, it's hard, but this was so beautiful. We had this brownie that was, the word brownie just doesn't do it justice, so it was just really, really fantastic. And did a little bit of shopping, not much because it's just really such a heat wave in Europe right now. It was pretty hot, and these luxury goods shops, there are queues everywhere. When I first arrived, drove past the big flagship Louis Vuitton shop on the Champs-Élysées, the queue was around the block, but because of this heat and it's just the sun and you, evidently Louis Vuitton came out and gave all the people white umbrellas, and they're all standing there in this big long queue all the way around the building with white umbrellas to shield them from the sun. So that was quite civilized. So that was very nice. But I did go into Hermes, and because that is the scent I wear. So I got a new perfume. I wear the Elixir de Merveilleuse. It's so nice. I love it. It's my signature. At one point they were gonna do away with it. I just thought, holy cow, they can't do that. So they brought it back. It's there. I bought some, and I bought a scarf, and I have a couple of new ties. I learned a couple of new ties in the shop. We took a quick little video that we'll have to show you, but I'll show you quickly, and we'll make this in our travel blog. Okay, so we'll fold this up, and if you watch this, you know I love scarves. You know I have lots of them. I'm so lucky, and you know I have all kinds of different ways to fold them. So okay, so I'm gonna fold this so this ends up in a big long. You know how to do this. Okay, so we put it over our heads. Now here's, and the beautiful women working in the shop all had this tie around their neck, and I said, please teach me that. So on one end, you take a tie and make a loop and bring the end through. So just make a loop, bring the end through. Then you just simply take the other side and put it through. Put it through there, and you have this sort of a slip knot, and it looks great. Just this nice knot. I mean, I thought that was great. And then here's another tip. If you didn't like that one, then instead of straight down, same thing, make a knot on one side, bring the other side up. Instead of down through the little knot, up through the loop, and then you can and then this slides, and then you have like a slider. You can slide this, and of course I'd have to really fix it all up. But anyway, so a couple new things, new ways to tie. We've learned all kinds of new ways. Well, it was just a beautiful shop, and here in this neighborhood, it was not the big flagship on Faubourg, but this was the boutique here in this neighborhood, Saint Germain's. It was lovely, just really lovely. So this was quite a trip, and it's been really lovely. The food has been magnificent. Had incredible seafood last night, and I thought I might just take you outside. It's about 8 o'clock at night here, Sunday evening, and I'm gonna just walk outside on my French balcony. Yeah, okay, I have one here. So let me just take you outside and just show you what's happening in the Saint-Germain-des-Prés neighborhood on a Sunday night. There are a few people out. Like I said, it is still pretty hot. So, oh, and look at all the things the hotel had for me. This is chocolate. This says "Break Me." That is a ship made out of chocolate. Yes, and we have some champagne. I have been enjoying the French wine. I'll say that. That's who doesn't? Okay, let's go outside. All right, here's my French balcony. All right, this is quite nice. And here we are outside. This is the front of the hotel. There's a lovely little bistro across the street. And it's still warm, sun is still out, and we'll just sort of do a little pan so you can just sort of see what's happening here in Paris on a Sunday night. It's still quite warm. It's still just sort of starting to cool off a little bit, but I will say this, it's still pretty warm, but it's just lovely to be here. I hope to come back maybe this fall when it's a little cooler. I'd like to stay a lot longer, and spend a little more time making a little longer travel vlog with you. And I was just going to look and see if anybody has any questions or comments, and if anybody does, you're welcome to leave a chat, something in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions. It's been a marvelous trip, and I hate to fly out tomorrow. It seems like it went so fast. It just goes so fast. But anyway, it's been great. Hey, great time to come to Europe, everybody. The dollar and the euro are on par. There's that. If you're into all this shopping, as many people obviously are, it's a good time. You can pick up, well, I hate to say bargain, but you might pick up that thing you've been waiting for. So thank you so much tuning in live from Paris with me. It's been a great trip, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. So merci beaucoup and bonsoir. Au revoir.